Does he have it?
Medeiros is going to get it.
They're going to toss it. They haven't got it.
He's on the outside line though, going into the fastest corner on the circuit. Surely this can't work.
Dominic Ligner has got a sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's caught back into play. Exactly, Miller's still start trouble. He's not on second and change. All of a sudden, Miller's back in play.
Can Barry do it? Big Barry's going to do it. Big Barry! Good evening and welcome back to the UK SimRacers MX5 Season 1 of 2023 Round 7 live from Daytona International Roval, and currently at this moment of time it is 3.56 miles, 5.729 kilometers, 12 turns. And we're banking on the oval turns at 31 degrees and the back straightaway at 2 degrees. It is sure going to make some interesting racing between 18 MX5s racing around here this evening. And you've got myself, James Parfitt, and Zach Sweeney in the booth once more, bringing you all the action on this Tuesday evening. Good evening to Jordan Syra and Phil and Chris Harvey. Hope you're all well. And Pete Van Gaal, who's just in with his... I don't know what it is. That's a rock hand thing. But welcome in, Pete. Anyway, why are you not on the track? You are on track, so good job as well. Daytona is absolutely epic. It's going to be a one draft fest after another, going from turn 7 right the way down to the initial bus stop, and then from 11 all the way round to the start finishing line. You do not want to be currently, I will say this now, in 3rd place. So for that one, because if you are in 3rd, you're more likely able to take the win, to be fair. So first might not be so good. But let's bring in Mr. Zach Sweeney into the booth. Good evening, Zach. How are you, sir?
I'm doing very well. I'm very looking forward to today. Kickstarting the second half of the season, of course, which is weird to say because it's gone very, very quickly. We've come off the back of Knock Hill, which is completely the opposite to what we got here at Daytona. But MX5s, the Daytona road course, it's just an epic combination and one I'm really looking forward to. Yeah, you can see the current championship standings are on your screen. Dan Hunt is winning by 826 with John Sylvester in second place on 815. He is 11 points back. Tom Griffiths sitting in 3rd, Pete Van Gaal in 4th, Jamie Ayres 5th, Steve Hefford is in 6th with Ivan Bramer tied next to him there as well. Miles Owens, Carl Jacklett, Charles Kellerman, Ralph Cullen, Elise Main, Martin Sampson and Darren McLean rounds out your pros. In your AM Championship, it's kind of a bit of a runaway lead at the moment, as Arnold Chagnon with Darryl Wright in 2nd, Andy Littler in 3rd, Jordan Syra at 4th, Steve Hansford in 5th, Jason Haddington 6th, Mick Barry 7th, Alan Toon down in 8th, and Anthony Jacobson in 9th. Let's not forget Chagnon taking 2 victories and a 2nd place last week did his championship hopes the world of good. And now in the team championships, it is of course going down to the wire, and Momo are on top on 2,591 points with the Platinum Racing Team in 2nd place on 2,344. Optical Red 1,288 in 3rd. Safeguard by result up 2 from last week on 863. Results Clothing on 862. Optical Green on 816. Air Smart Racing on 790. DOF Reality Sim Racing Studios in 8th, and Work Guard by results in 9th place. It's getting close, young sir, isn't it? You know, we're just about to go into quali, so it's going to be an interesting one here as well. I think, to be honest, we can safely say quali can be decided by who's got the draft, right? Because we know it's open quali. Everybody's going to be coming rushing out on track at the same time, Zach. So is it going to be a draft fest to see who gets pole? Absolutely. And, you know, we don't want to beat around the bush. We don't want to hype up something that's not necessarily going to happen. If you haven't got a draft, you have got absolutely no chance of getting pole. That doesn't necessarily mean that as soon as you get a draft, you're in a situation where you can put it on pole. It's just a very, very big helping hand, because around the banks of Daytona, you know, you've got the road course, which is the twisty bit. Obviously, that's where driver skill really takes over. But as soon as you put your foot to the floor through NASCAR 1 and 2, through the Le Mans chicane as well, obviously you don't necessarily want want to get caught up behind a car, but as soon, once again, you put your foot to the floor through the banking of NASCAR 3 and 4, then around the tri-oval, you know, you're not necessarily doing any turning, specifically in these MX5s as well. It then really not corners. You know, you hardly even need to turn the steering wheel because the 32 degrees of banking does it for you. So, you know, you're not going to gain anything by sending it a little bit harder into those corners. It's all dependent on whether or not you've got someone in front of you giving you that assistance, which is where I think we are going to see a bit of team play here, James. You know, the Momo boys we've seen, well, we've seen before, they sometimes don't help each other, but hopefully they're going to help each other stay in this qualifying session. Same too with the Platinums, which are a similar story as well, but again, we won't delve too much into that. If you want to find out the stories, go watch the other races, because if you haven't already, they're pretty good. But yeah, I think qualifying is going to be an interesting dynamic, but also with that, it is a balancing act as well. While yes, you want the toe, you don't want the hindrance of another car in front of you through the twisty stuff.
Yeah, definitely as well. That's going to be one of the things they're going to have to look out for here, because that draft is going to be epically strong across them 2 runs from 7 to 9 and then 11 round to the end. It is going to be incredible. Chris, welcome in as well. Just become a new subscriber. So Chris has joined the JPB family. So welcome in to you, young sir. Thank you so much for joining us for what plans to be an epic evening. Don't forget, we've got 4 15-minute heats. Race 2 is a reverse top 12, and then it'll be a random reverse for race 3 and 4, so it'll be completely random for 3 and 4, so stay tuned for that one, because it can end up, well, in any order. So just be aware, it's going to be a quite an interesting night here. I think this is one of the things, as you say, we've had the incidents and accidents of teammates being involved with each other, right? Momo have done it, Platinum have done it. Platinum lost a bucket load of points at Sandown due to 2 of them coming together. You know, you can see the 3 Momos here, and I think that's going to be one of the definitive structures, because we've got the 3 Platinums right behind them as well, and that's got to be the way to run this quali, isn't it? 1 lap each, swap, pull the next one along, swap, pull the next one along. Surely that's got to be the game plan for everyone.
In a sense, yes, 100%, I completely agree. But also, you have to remember, this is going to be quite a long lap in these MX5s. We were looking in practice, they were in the region of sort of 2 minutes 11, that sort of vein. It is a long circuit for these guys. And obviously, they only have 15 minutes to get it done. So obviously, they need to factor in how much they want to help their teammates versus how much they want to help themselves. Because, you know, if you're doing it in that 3 teammate cycle where you go ahead, you let your teammate ahead, you go ahead, you let your teammate ahead, you're not actually going to get that many laps to yourself, because there's not that many laps capable of doing in the session. So that means you really are going to have to nail each and every single lap that you put in, which does put a bit of pressure on those that are in a team, but it also obviously exclude some of those that maybe don't have teammates. They're going to be sort of leeches onto the back of these trains and hoping to do the best that they can to obviously stay into the mix. But this is going to be a bit of a problem. You can see here overtaking on the back straight runs, because you know it is quite risky doing a bit of a bump tap. You know, they're very fine margins. You know, you get it even marginally wrong and you are going to spin the car out in front of you. So in some cases you're forced to overtake, and in overtaking you're killing your momentum. So it, you know, when it comes to sort of this dynamic of bump drafting and slipstreaming to help yourself, people see it as a very easy thing. But you know obviously from commentating on NASCAR and things like that, it really isn't. You know, and pulling out to the right hand side, going the long way around the banking, it's not going to lose you heaps of time, but it's enough to make the difference. What I'm trying to say basically is that in essence, it's really not as easy as it looks. It's not just a case of giving your teammates slipstream. It is a whole lot deeper than that, and all those different little variables like this, like running side by side with your teammate into turn number 1. We talked about how they had a limited number of laps. That basically writes off one of them.
And you see Miles Owens is topping the time in tower 209.513. Then Darrell Wright, the leader in the AMs at the moment, popping it into second. I think Darrell's in a prime position here, because if I'm not mistaken, he is at the back end of the 3 Platinum boys. Are doing him a massive favour right about now, because if you've never driven Daytona before, third place is quite optimal going round from that run from the 11 through the tri-oval and across the start-finish line. It is incredibly strong drafted on there as well. An Onion Bag Arch, Toonami he's just come in with after their somewhat epic win over the weekend, shall we say. 5-0 up in 21 minutes over my beloved Tottenham Hotspur. I was not a happy bunny, Onion, over this weekend, but then again it's just another manager down the tube for Spurs, to be honest, so there we go. But getting back to the racing, Darrell Wright's in a prime position to pick up the draft off Miles Owens, and the other platinum racing boy there in front of him, which is number 64, which is John Sylvester. Of course, Sylvester is sitting second in the championship, only 11 points back. He's got to try and make some time as well. What is, if you sat here, Zach, could come up with the ideal strategy, what would you play your cards out? Because Brayman's not even got a time on the board, I don't think, at the moment. So surely he's got to be priority of this free currently at the moment.
Yes.
And no. Go on.
I mean,
I get where you're saying. I know where you're going to go. Yes and no, because obviously, you know, he's not keeping up, he's slower, whatever. I get it. But surely the benefits of bringing the three together is more beneficial. And there's that draft from third place with E1 Bramer there. There's nothing saying that he's not going to be able to get a nice good old toe draft, you know. And there you go. You're looking at Bramer's just got up. Well, he was in third briefly, and now he's just gone all the way down to eighth. So are they doing themselves any favours, or are they not? Is it easier to let each other go?
I think they're tripping up over each other. In essence, this is a fantastic idea to have all three of you together. It means no one else can interfere. You're with people you trust. You're with people that are at a similar pace. You're with people you know aren't going to shoot you in the back and say, you know what, how I'm going to pull over and you can give me the slipstream. No, they're not going to, you know, be like that. They're people you can trust. But also, in a sense, you know, maybe they're too close to each other in terms of pace. Maybe they're getting too close in the infield section. Maybe they're overtaking each other at the wrong place. There's three of them, and obviously three's a crowd. If it was a couplet and they were working together, trading as a pair, it would be a bit easier. But because there's three, there's an extra variable, there's an extra car, extra person to deal with, and things like that. Right there, they are teammates, but they are still tripping up over each other. Whereas you look to the likes of Daniel Hunt and Jamie Ayres, they're in a couplet, they're chilling, they're doing their own thing as a little duo, getting involved with each other, which is great. And it has helped them to now be in a position where they are commanding the top two places. Darrell Wright, in all fairness, as an AM, and let's not forget, Darrell Wright is a very quick driver. He's done really, really well recently, most notably, obviously not really been towards the front in terms of podiums or things like that, but he's still, you know, been up there and being competitive. And then it comes Miles Owens, and then it's Elise Main, Martin Sampson, Pete Van Gaal, then Ewan Bramer, then John Sylvester in P8 and P9. In theory, perfect idea, but in practice, it's not worked out for them. And they have literally got just over half the session to sort it out and to buck their ideas up and actually get back into the swing of things and increase their times. Because while, yes, Daytona opens the avenue for overtaking, you do not want to get stuck in a slipstream train down in P8 and P9.
Yeah, let's not forget regarding Darrell Wright as well. We had 2 second places last week and the first place. So him and Sean Yonye swapped positions on race 3. They were pretty much Sean Yonye right, and then it went right, Sean Yonye. So these are guys who are obviously close together in the championship sitting at the moment. And for Darrell Wright, the more ample positions he can try and move up here, because Sean Yonye is not even here. So for him, this is a massive opportunity to close up some of that looming gap that he's got over Sean Yonye at the moment. You know, he's nearly 62 points back, but as we know in this series, it can change on a dime, to be blatantly honest. But from Wright's point of view, if he can keep clean, finish all 4 races here, he's in with a chance of pulling back a lot of points on Sean Yonye.
100%. I mean, that's got to be his main focus, is I've got to maximise today. This is my opportunity. While, yes, over the course of the 12-week season, these guys do get 2 drop rounds. One that comes in effect after week 4 and the other that comes in effect after week 8. So we're not quite there to see what the second drop round is going to be. That obviously fluctuates depending on how bad a result they have. However, Sean Yonye, he's going to be forced to use one of his drop weeks today, which while maybe not necessarily going to have a direct impact on his overall points, because he can write today off, and any points that Darrell Wright gains, I don't want to say nullified, but they're significant. They're quite less significant. What it does do, however, is put a heap of pressure onto Arnaud Chagnon, because he's got to nail every single race from now until the end of the season if he wants to win that AM title. It means that he cannot mess up, and what it does mean is that Darrell Wright has got weeks like today that he can then fall back on. He needs to maximise his points haul today, close the gap up to Chagnon, so much so that the pressure is on, and Chagnon's thinking, you know what, Darrell Wright's there, I've got to nail everything I can do, I've got to bring my A game to each and every single round for the last half of the season, and then most importantly, I think more necessarily than the points advantage that he's going to get from today is the psychological advantage to Darrell Wright to say, I've got a week that I can fall back on. I can, have a bad week and it's still not affect me as much. Chagnon, that's a luxury that he's not going to have.
I think that's going to be the interesting thing. It's going to be interesting to see how this one pans out with these drop weeks taken into consideration and what actually is going to be happening as well. As I say, we've got one more round to go before we sort of get into the second round of drop weeks. They are, as I say, Zach said, it was round 8. So we have done, obviously, the first ones on round 4. Mick Barry is flying along here currently in 16th. He's got Ralph Cullinan in front of him, giving him a nice little draft all the way around the end there until they go across the line. And how's that going to affect Mick Barry? Is not going to affect Mick Barry. He's still on a 2:13.429. So, and Hefford has taken pole position currently on a 2:08.36 at the top 3 on a 2:08, and then we go into the 2:09s before we hit the 2:10s with Tom Griffiths as well, which is a little bit unusual for Tom because he is generally a quick guy overall. But he's currently sitting down in 10th place. He needs to kind of make the most of this toe that he's going to be hopefully getting from Jamie Ayres in front of him.
If I'm not mistaken, Griffiths is by himself in terms of teammates, right? He's not.
Yeah, he's not got one.
Yeah, which puts him in a very precarious situation because he's got no one that he can rely on. He's got to, as I said, squirm into the other people's affairs, that he's got to, be on the back of them and get involved and be like, oh, boys, can I join in? Do you reckon you could give me a little bit of a tow? Which obviously isn't going to help him, particularly at a day like today. Would have been interesting if this was a lone qualifying, because then obviously all slipstream effects are nullified and it all comes down to what the driver can do. But yeah, for Griffiths, it is going to be a bit frustrating that he's got to go out and actively find the tow, which is not easy whatsoever. I remember having to do it for the Rocket Racing Star Formula 4 Esports Competition UK around the Red Bull Ring. And it's all about timing. You go out the pit lane and it literally starts from the exact second qualifying starts. If you get out in the lead and you have to back off, you then got to time your run and make sure that when you let people through, you don't accelerate too late as to lose them. You don't accelerate too early as to not actually let them through. It is a big balancing act trying to find the slipstream, and it's one that has a big effect. Pete Van Gool goes up to 5th. Tom Griffiths, however, well, up to 3rd. Good on him. Fair play. Absolutely brilliant. Just over a 10th of a second off Steve Hefford in that fight for pole. So despite the fact that he's obviously naturally, statistically going to be on the back foot, he is not letting that affect him at all, and he's making the most of everything that comes his way. And
do you know the interesting thing about Griffiths as well? He is the leading driver out the whole field for podium finishes. He's got 12 podium finishes at the moment. He's got 20 top 10s, but he's only got 3 wins, and his average points is 33.5. And his average finish, and that's even more impressive, his average so far is 5.5, and he's only below John Sylvester and Dan Hunt. Dan Hunt is on. His average finishing position is 3.5. So I'm not quite sure where the 0.5 comes in, but he's 3.5. Yeah, that's his average. So there we go. Callum Island, welcome in. Chocolate Munchkin, much love. Puck has jumped in as well. Of course, Puck being Pete Van Gool's brother. So much love to you. Thank you so much. Can the drivers save the drop weeks till the end of the season, or do you have to use them? You have to use them when specified by the league. So if the league says you're going to have your first drop week at week 1 or week 4, you have to. It has to be taken off at week 4. If it says you have to have it by race 8, you have to have it by race 8. So in theory,
I don't think so.
They can't save them.
I think I did ask Steve and Jamie, and they did sort of answer. It was a very weirdly worded question. I said, do they have to take one per split, or can they take both in one? Can they take both in week 1 or 2, or do they have to wait? We'll answer it when we get a moment, but here's the grid after qualifying.
Yeah, Steve Hefford is in first, Dan Hunt second, Tom Griffiths third, Jamie Ayres fourth, Pete Van Gaal fifth, Darrell Wright, a leader of the AMs in sixth, Miles Owen seventh, Elise Main eighth, Martin Sampson ninth, Ewan Bramer 10th, John Sylvester 11th, and Carl Jacklett down in 12th there. Andy Littler 13th, Ralph Cullinan 14th, Mick Barry 15th, Jason Addington 16th, Sir Alan Toon 17th, and Steve Hansford is in 18th. I read that message, Zach, and I took it as it had to be applied between race 1 and 4, and then between 4 and 8. Now, maybe I've misread what that was said, but I presumed that was how it came across and how it was said.
I interpret it as you can take rounds 1 and 2 as your drop week, for example, say whenever, but only one of them is dropped at week 4. Then we see the other dropped at week 8, presuming that you don't have any other ones. It's a complicated system, but let's let the race and do the talking.
Yeah, 4 lights, 5 lights. Steve Hefford's going to be getting away. It's green and away we go here at Daytona. And currently Steve Hefford is out in front. Dan Hunt sitting in second. You can see the strewn of MX5s there as well. Elise Main is looking like she's just about to go into turn 1. It's gained 2 positions at the start here. Pete Van Gaal has not been so lucky. Pete Van Gaal was very slow away. He's dropped all the way to the back end of the field. Steve Hefford has made it round turn 1, running up into the horseshoe now. Dan Hunt second, Tom Griffiths first, Jamie Ayres fourth, and then we've got the first platinum of Miles Owens there, tucked up right behind him as well, currently in 5th. But Owens up 2, Main up 2, Bramer up 3, Sampson up 1 as well, where he is up 2 now. He's just got Ewan Bramer there, so he is just gone up 2 places. Everybody got away. It's a bit of an interesting start from PVG. We'll try and have a look back at that one, Zach, but generally it looks like they've all clean and tidy.
Which through turn number 1 here at the Daytona Road Circuit is very much a luxury. Good stuff from everyone involved. However, Steve Hefford, this is where the challenge starts. Daniel Hunt, it is right on his heels, and he is going to be breathing down the neck of the Momo driver. He is going to be doing his absolute best job to put his foot to the floor and get the drive. That run off of turn 6 through NASCAR 1 and 2 is really where things start to count. Steve Hefford, he's not really had anyone try to, go for the move with slipstream, but now you can just look at the closing speed of the second place car, Daniel Hunt. He's closing, riding on board with Steve Hefford. Is he going to defend? No, he's not. Not really any point to doing it. Daniel Hunt to the left-hand side. Tom Griffiths as well fancies the move into the Le Mans chicane for the first time. Is Steve Hefford going to tuck into tow? He is indeed, and his teammate Jamie Ayres might have a look as well. Oh, there's contact! Oh my word! 2 Momo boys and Jamie Ayres has run. There's more contact. The Platinum boys are involved as well. How Steve Hefford has pointed the right way, I don't know. That is what can happen into the Le Mans chicane.
And that was teammates again. Hefford and Ayres coming together, and that's just, look at the field now. You got Ralph Cullinan all the way back in 12th, is literally sat not far off the lead at all. It's just going to be insane round this run. They're going to be 3 wide round the run currently at the moment. And here we go, look at the cars. It's almost watching NASCAR. 2 banks here with Platinum in the middle, who's all on his own. Pick a lane, son, you need 1, I'll tell you that much. But here comes Mick Barry. He's made up a bunch of positions. Daniel Hunt, Tom Griffiths, all coming in together. Unbelievable action there. And Steve Hefford has got away at the start, but PVG is in the pits after his earlier beginnings, of course, not going down so well. But that's the problem that can happen. Look at how strong that draft was.
It was insane. It will continue to be insane. Everyone getting the draft of each other. 2 lanes formed. The side draft taking an effect as well. This is a NASCAR race, however, with a Japanese chassis in the form of the Mazda MX5. It's beautiful stuff, of course. Ewan Bramer up to 6th place. He's going to make that 5th into the Western Horseshoe. He's going to go for 2 and 1. Look at that. Beautiful stuff from the Dutchman. Now going side by side with Carl Jacklett, who's just about got the margin ahead. It'll be the inside for the next run through the left-hander. The important run through the left-hander. His optical teammate just in behind Ewan Bramer, forced to tuck in. He's tagged him round. He's spun him round. There's more calamity. There's cars everywhere. This is NASCAR.
Absolutely there as well. If a bump draft was ever going to show you not to do it on a corner.
Oh! More! Someone in behind as well. Was it Cullinan? Or...
Oh, Main!
No. Wow! Whoa! Ouch.
Main into car 65. That's Alan Toon. Main into Toon. Oh no, what happened to Elise Main there? How did she end up there?
She got tagged round, I think. Here. Yeah, wow, donk, in you go. Oh, that's brutal.
Is that Darryl Wright in front? It was one of them from the... It may have actually been Darryl Wright spun her there.
I would not want to be a steward after tonight, let's put it that way.
No.
This is the normal race as well. This isn't the reverse grid race. This is where everyone's meant to be as Griffiths and Hunt. Well, these two are in a world of their own side-by-side for the lead.
Yeah, Hannington also was involved in that one as well. So poor old Hannington there getting mixed up as well. But here we go with the Platinum Boys on the inside with 2 banks of 2 again. Ewan Bramer, John Sylvester, and then of course you've got Martin Sampson as well. And it is just a full-on battle. Steve Hefford's bouncing out down the road, which is what they did not want. Oh, he's gone round Martin Sampson. Sampson off in turn 1. What is going on?
And deep into the International Horseshoe as well from Sylvester. I haven't got an explanation. These guys, they need a coffee or something. They need something to wake them up a bit, because what we're seeing now is, well, it looks like we've just gone down to the local race course and we're seeing, you know, everyone in there beating up Citroen Saxos, jumping at each other around a bit of a dirt track. This isn't the MX5s that we're used to seeing. It's absolute carnage, it's absolute chaos, and it's been calamity left, right and centre. You can see Mick Barry up there in 5th place. He's looking for a good result, which is fair play. And as Toxic Munch has just said, are these lot going to make it to the end? We can't answer that question, and we'll find out in about 10 minutes' time, James, I think.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what is going on here tonight. It's never normally like this, but this is the trickery of a high-drafted track, and everybody knows. They're not stupid. They all know that it's such a high-drafted track as well. And literally, it's just they're not getting it right. That's the problem. They didn't get it right in qualifying with the Platinum Boys. Seems like Momo haven't got it right in the race whatsoever, because going into here, Ayres spun Hefford, you know, and it's just going crazy.
It is. It's... I don't know whether it's just a chain reaction that sparks out of control. One person spins, people are annoyed, people are frustrated, they're taking it out on each other, they're going into each corner, absolutely sending it. Another change for the lead, by the way. Tom Griffiths back ahead of Daniel Hunt. This is John Sylvester on the back of Ewan Bramer. We cut to said fight for the lead. Daniel Hunt once again pulling out to the left-hand side of the shot as they cross the line of drag race in towards turn number 1. The sweeping outside nature of it allows Daniel Hunt to take the lead under brakes. Tom Griffiths not really putting up much of an offensive fight between the pair of them. It's good stuff though, and 2 people that are in genuine contention of winning the championship, both of them inside the top 3, 1st and 3rd respectively. And now here we go, a good little fight between Ewan Bramer, John Sylvester, Mick Barry, Darryl Wright into the mix as well. This is, I don't really know what to call this. You're going to get to the end of the... oh, don't do that. Oh my word. We're going to get to the end of the night and you're going to be like, give me that one sentence to sum up this evening. I'm not going to be able to give you that sentence, James. I'll be honest, I can call it now.
Yeah, now I know that it's going to be impossible. I just probably won't put you on the spot, to be honest, because looking at the fact that Darryl Wright nearly just ran Mick Barry off of the horseshoe, and it was very, very close here. We've got Jamie Ayres trying to come back through the field, but the problem for Jamie Ayres is he's got Miles Owens up on the outside currently, as these guys are coming round turn 6 now and leading off down to 7. So they're going to be swapping backwards and forwards, right? We can see that. They're both as fast as each other. They're going to be swapping backwards and forwards. This pack have got to make a decision now. The 2 Platinum Boys in front, they either carry on and draft each other and fight away to the point of where there is a problem, or they make gains on Steve Hefford, who has got no draft, no person to work with him. And as I've seen around here in NASCAR, if you're on your own, it doesn't work. You lose a bucket load of time. And saying that, he's just nearly lost 3 attempts going down that part of the race circuit alone for Steve Hefford. So not fighting is surely going to benefit these 4 more than scrapping. It's obvious, isn't it?
honestly mind-boggling how quickly you can catch up just with a bit of slipstream. I remember doing MX5s on Racestream just before the Daytona 2.4 hour event that they hosted back in January. Honestly, you are by yourself and you've got a pack in behind. They will close and close and close. John Sylvester pulls to the inside of E1 Bramer and he lets him through, tucks back in. This is cycling is the analogy I like to use. The lead car takes the brunt, the cars in behind take a nice easy run, slingshot past them, swap for the lead. They're working together. They're not fighting each other at all. To a single file, Mick Barry might cause a bit of an upset into that regime, but if they work together, if they knuckle down, they can see Hefford in front. Ewan Bramer, a big mistake though. That is not going to help him. Bit of a jump over the grass as well in the infield. That's not great. But Sylvester now leads Darrell Wright and Mick Barry. If they work together, you can already see the gap. 1.6 seconds. I think basically it's like in Cars 2 with the camera, where they're pointing at people and they're just completely blowing up whoever they want. That's exactly what we're seeing. They're just driving out there to get to the checkered flag.
Yeah, literally. I think that's... Oh dear, what is going on here tonight with these guys? They've got to get that gap down. It's down to now round about 1.7. There is Hefford in front of us currently at the moment with the yellow barred MX5 there with the red Momo, of course. So from Sylvester's point of view, he can see where his target's got to be. But now this is the problem. Unless Sylvester is showing pace that he's going to be naturally faster, he hasn't got any assistance. But Mick Barry and Darrell Wright can close that 1.1 second gap quite easily coming around this run. And at the end of the day, he's going to be under attack again. So it really is a 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, isn't it? Because who's going to be able to do what or when, what point? Because they're all going to be closing down on the person in front of them.
I think they want to keep a nice distance away from the person in front of them is what it is. Obviously, genuinely joking aside, it gets to the point where you just do not trust anyone around you. And it's just the case of, I'm just going to chill. I'm not going to get involved with anything. I just want to drive myself to the end of the race, secure the points that I'm in. Because you look at Darrell Wright and Mick Barry, 5th and 6th place overall. That is huge for them. There's not 2 different point systems for the pros and the AMs. It's one continuous linear point system. So 5th and 6th for Darrell Wright and Mick Barry on a day where they need to gain some points is huge. Darrell Hunt, Tom Griffiths, they've been completely unaware of everything that's been happening around them. They got ahead of Steve Hefford before the carnage ensued on lap number 1. They have just been in a world of their own, completely fine, and now they're reaping the rewards from it. They're having a nice, civilized, quote-unquote, fight that they're having around race number 1, which is great to see. They're giving each other some stick. Awesome stuff. Steve Hefford, John Sylvester, Darrell Wright. I think everyone bar the top 2 has seen atrocities from the duration of tonight, which obviously Daniel Hunt and Tom Griffiths are going to watch this back, hopefully, if they're interested in that. I don't know, whatever they do, but they're going to watch this back and they're going to be like, thank God we got out of that. Like, we didn't have to do that, which is, they're going to be counting their lucky stars. However, in 3 minutes time, they're going to have to do it from the back of the grid. They're going to be forced to see the atrocities of lap number 1 here at Daytona.
Yeah, definitely as well. Going back to Darrell Wright and Mick Barry, currently they are sitting in 5th and 6th, right? They're up for the scoring 36 and 34 points respectively, obviously in Darrell Wright's favour. So they're going to be well in here, and this is a good start to what we were discussing beforehand with Darrell Wright's opportunity, with Arnold Chagnon being 60, I think it was like 62, I think it was, points ahead of him. He's already cut that gap down by half, just being able to complete this race, which in hindsight seems crazy, ludicrous thing to say, but in reality the carnage that has pursued in front of them has allowed these two to be in this position, and it just seems mind-blowing that Darrell Wright and Mick Barry are on for scoring more points than Jamie Ayres, Miles Owens, Pete Van Gaal, Elise Main, just to name a few.
At the end of the day, you finish in front of the people around you and you'll score more points than them. This is Mick Barry, though, and Darrell Wright. As much as they're already in a very good position, each one of them want to make it just that little bit better. Mick Barry wants to get himself an AM victory. He wants to get himself inside the top 5 overall. He's outside line through the tri-oval. Darrell Wright has no choice but to tuck him behind. And I think that's actually an interesting thing. For Mick Barry, this is a bit of a not to slate him or anything, but it's a bit of an unusual situation to be in genuine contention for an AM win. Whereas Darrell Wright, he's a bit more used to it. I think he's got 3, if I remember just correctly off the top of my head. You know, for him, you know, it's not necessarily a big thing to win an AM race, but it is a big thing that he secures either 5th or 6th in terms of the points versus Arnaud Chagnon. So how much is Wright going to fight for this? How much does he want to risk potentially losing that just for the sake of an extra few points, when in reality, put a 6th place in your back pocket, carry on to race 2, and maximise your points all for today? Because for Wright, this is a very important night, and it could be the turning point for his season.
Exactly, and here we are now on the final lap of the race, and this is one of the areas we're going on. Daniel Hunt knows it. I can almost see a Sylvester Hamilton moment here with neither person wanting to be in the lead. Griffiths, for some reason, grabbed hold of the lead there. He grabbed the bull by the horns, and I'm not entirely sure if that was the best idea here. I've got to be honest, it's not somewhere I would want to be. Right about now, I would be going left and letting him through, or going right and hanging out that inside, because he is going to run at you from this chicane now for the final lap here, coming out of this turn, and he is going to run like an absolute barnstormer here as well, because now we're going to see that closing speed, and Griffiths is not going to be able to do a single thing about it, and there he goes through as well. You can tuck in and try and hope now, mate. Try and hope that you've got enough room. Daniel Hunt sort of weaving along there, he's weaving his own little jumper. But here comes Griffiths, and I don't think he's going to get enough. It's going to be really close. Griffiths has got to go now. If you're going to go, you've got to go on the outside. They're going to come running down to the line. How is this one going to work? They're going to cross the line, literally nose to tail. Oh! Griffiths got it.
What was that in the end? What was the gap?
9 thousandths of a second. Mick Barry, oh, they finished. Oh, okay.
Breathe, James, and breathe.
Littler got done by Ayres as well. But
that was so clever. From Griffiths. He knew, I think, just how much space he needed. And obviously for the entire race, they were obviously swapping places on that run. So they were in the back of their mind collecting a bit of data. How far back can I be in order to get that run? Griffiths, you know, if he put the throttle on literally a 100th of a second later, he would have lost that race. It was a very fine margin, had to be surgically precise. But Griffiths timed it to perfection, utilised the slipstream, and he was a bit discouraged. Did he go inside, outside? Where was the space? But eventually the outside did work, and Pete Van Gool ends his race, and it, speaks exactly how the race went for him today. Incredibly close, and well, if that's what we've got to expect, then yeah, bring it on.
Yeah, we've almost got NASCAR endings there as well. What an unbelievable ending. Tom Griffiths is in first from Daniel Hunt by 7 thousandths of a second. You can't even blink quicker than that. Unbelievable. Daniel Hunt in second, Steve Hefford third, John Sylvester fourth, Darrell Wright fifth, Mick Barry finished behind Darrell Wright in the end. Ewan Bramer seventh, Ralph Cullen eighth, Jamie Ayres was down in ninth, Andy Littler 10th, Steve Hansford 11th, Miles Owens down in 12th, Martin Sampson 13th, Carl Jacklett 14th, PVG just a rotten first race in 15th, Sir Alan Toon 16th, Elise Main 17th, Jason Haddington down in 18th, of course. Both of them were involved in an incident that involved Darrell Wright, I believe, that spun Elise Main from the oval downwards, and unfortunately Alan Toon and Jason Haddington were just pretty much passengers at that point. Okay, so that's what we've got to look forward to for the rest of the evening, and we've got 3 more races to go here, Zach. Okay, give me an idea. What do you think is going to happen?
Well, I'll be honest. You can't really predict in situations like this. And I know that's the cop-out, get me out of this question answer, because it is. But in all seriousness, like, we didn't necessarily expect the carnage that was going to unfold in race 1. These guys could learn from their mistakes, and we could have, you know, was it 18 cars nose to tail for the entire duration of race 2? We could have that. These guys could keep it clean, or we could take race 1 and times it by 10, and we could have everyone blowing up, or I don't know. We could have anywhere in between. The range, the range of potential is huge. It could be the cleanest race you've ever seen. It could be the bloodiest bath you've ever seen around the Daytona Roval.
Well,
we don't know until it's happened.
Well, one man that can tell you how was going on in race 1 is Steve Hefford, who has joined us into the where are you gone, Steve? There he is. He's into the booth with us as well. Good evening, Steve. How are you, sir?
Not bad, buddy. You?
I'm very well. How you doing?
Yeah, not bad. That could have been worse.
Oh, mate, what was Jamie going on there?
Well, I'd already lifted because I'd let Tom through. I knew Tom was coming through, and I just said I'll lift and let you come back. Jamie was quite a way back, but he missed his brake marker. He said when he realised he needed to brake, he was at the one board, which is quite a bit too late. But and I was slow as well, so yeah, it was just one of those. Luckily, I did a 360 and I was pointing in the right direction. I was like, right, okay, let's carry on. Jamie was lucky.
Yeah, there weren't a few people in that weren't pointing in the right direction in that one. Steve, to be honest, you were not the only ones. I think literally, apart from the top, it was the top 2 got away. I think everybody else was involved in some form of incident.
I asked him to slow down. I said a proper mate would have slowed down and given me draft because I knew Ivan and John were behind me. And I knew they'd be drafting together. And then just as they got in draft, something happened with Ivan and he dropped back. So if that had been a couple of laps earlier, then John would have been on his own and he wouldn't have had the draft. But when they were working together, I was just a matter of time before they caught me because I was just in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, that's what we did say that up in the booth, to be honest. How important is it? We give these viewers an idea at home that the draft is important here. How important is it at a track like this? Because you, as it showed in that one, you can't be on your own driving with draft pack behind you.
No, you can forget it. I mean, the draft in this car isn't as pronounced as it used to be at slower speeds, but as soon as you get in 5th gear upwards at the top end, that's, and you can even use 6, and it's just massive amounts of draft. It's probably, I don't know, 2.5, I guess, if you've got non-stop draft all around the track. So it's massive. And it just makes it, it's like a game of chess, really, rather than a race.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Yeah, it's all good.
Well, looking forward to race 2, Steve. If the ending's like race 1, it's going to be absolutely incredible. Thank you so much for joining us. I'll drop you back up with the Momo boys and catch up, hopefully, as the evening goes on.
You never know.
Take care, mate.
Enjoy. Bye-bye.
Bye. Well, Steve said it there. You're on your own, forget about it.
Yeah, pretty much. Which is honestly exactly what you can expect. I mean, Daytona, we said in qualifying, if you're by yourself, you're not going to get a good lap in. It's the same in the race. The people behind, they can just work off each other, gain so much speed for such little effort, and you're a sitting duck. There's not really much you can do. So you really do have to be careful. But once again, Steve, as per usual, has got a really nice spirit about him. So we'll see what he can do in race 2.
Yeah, definitely on that one. Miles Owens is on pole position this time. Steve Hansford second, Andy Littler third, Jamie Ayres fourth, Ralph Cullinan fifth, Iwan Bramer sixth, Mick Barry seventh, Darrell Wright eighth, John Sylvester ninth, Steve Hefford 10th, Dan Hunt 11th, and Tom Griffiths down in 12th place. Then we've got Martin Sampson, Carl Jacklett, PVG, Sir Alan Toon, Elise Main, and Jason Hannington sat behind him all the way down in 18th. Let's hope Jason can have a bit more of a cleaner race than he did in race 1. It didn't go down so well for him, and unfortunately he did struggle there as well. Great track for an MX5. That was an epic finish, says Craig Jones. It was. Birdie here, I think that's supposed to be the other word, but I'll take Sam, that's fine. Elisa, good win, Mick, and Martin Sampson, clean racing in this league. And away we go. Miles Owens is currently out in front, leading us away with Andy Littler, Steve Hansford and Jamie Ayres. Jamie Ayres has sent him 3 wide on that run down into turn 1. What's Ralph Cullinan going to be able to do as well? He's on that inside line. You don't want to get caught up there if you can with the optical green. And Steve Hansford, he's in the wall. Ralph's hit the tyre barrier before we've even gone anywhere. Tom Griffiths has gone through. Steve Hansford, I believe that was not so lucky there, Zach, and I'm not even too sure what Ralph was doing, but he clearly missed which way the track went. Oh, Hefford's off.
Oh, that's huge. That's straight on. I think he's had a similar situation to to what we saw at turn number 1. Not sure what happened. Once all the carnage has calmed down, I think we're going to have to take another look and dissect everything. But Miles Owens leads from Jamie Ayres. That half a second separate them two. It's been, well, what we have come to expect. Mick Barry up into 5th place as well. He's doing a good job. He's got Daniel Hunt just in behind. He gets the up and under through the Western Horseshoe. Gives him the outside line through the next left-hander. However, Daniel Hunt, the championship leader, versus Mick Barry, who's going to come out on top in this particular affair. Daniel Hunt doesn't really want to go around the outside because he knows it's going to leave him a sit and duck. Backed off a little bit too much, though, and might not have the run to stay into the mix with Mick Barry. Ewan Bramer, however, he's knocking on the door of Daniel Hunt. He's also got Samson and Van Gaal for company. Also Jacklet, also Griffiths, Main, Haddington, and Wright to round off the back end of this train. It's been a very chaotic first lap, and well, I'm sure that's going to continue with nearly 3 wide going through the banking.
Yeah, PPG on the outside there, not trying to. Well, not sure. I wouldn't be taking this one. I'm sorry, Pete. If you're going to try this one, it's going to only end in tears, I think. The last thing you want to be doing is running into that bus stop 2 wide currently, and these guys do make it through. But PPG is in prime position to have a go at Martin Sampson. Jamie Ayres up front. Currently at the moment, he's jumped Miles Owens. John Sylvester is battling away with Andy Littler here as well. Go on, Andy, give it some. As he's sitting currently in 4th place, your leader of the arms as well. So from Littler's point of view, I'm surprised he's not nestled in behind John Sylvester, but I wonder if that's almost like a, well, I kind of know you're going to get me at some point, so maybe we shouldn't be trying to push the situation. As we go here with Mick Barry, and then in front of Mick Barry, we've got PVG currently right on, attached to Martin Sampson there, and it's going to be going the way of what we expect here as we go on to the back end of PVG there as well. There was contact with Daniel Hunt and Mick Barry. You saw it briefly. Martin Sampson's got the looming Momo behind him as they come into the first horseshoe here, of course. And once again, we've got a pack of almost, what's that, 8 cars from 5th down to 13th?
Yeah, don't forget Darryl Wright as well from 14th. He's also in there. Yeah, it's a long train, and it's hard to keep up with. Really got to punch the numbers and try and follow as best we can, because it's a long train. Elise Main, Mick Barry swapping places as well towards the top end. Pete Van Gaal versus Martin Sampson side by side as well, as Main works her way past Mick Barry, who comes straight back up the inside going through the Western Horseshoe. Beautiful stuff from Mick Barry, and today's his day, and he's just chucking up the inside. He doesn't give a care in the world. He's aggressive, he's punchy, and well, I like it.
Yeah, Mick Barry definitely going for it there. Main's going to try and come back on the inside. I'm not too sure that would have been the best move there. Hepford is in the pits, and so is Ralph Cullinan. I'll try and have a look back at what I want to see what happened to Cullinan, because I think he just missed which way the track went and go and torpedoed the tyre barrier. Jamie Ayres and Miles Owens are going to be running side by side. This is Owens just about to make the move past Jamie Ayres here as well, going into the first chicane before they get onto that run round 11 and 12, and that's again the situation. These guys have swapped, but for John Sylvester, he's all on his own. Andy Littler further back is opened up a little bit of a gap to Martin Sampson. Not enough to make a massive difference, but it's enough to hopefully, from his point of view, try and keep him in front. But you can see the gap. Look at Sampson's gap. He's down to 4 tenths already. It's just, they're eating that gap alive, as Steve said, when they get up into that 5th gear, 6th gear range.
Yeah, the car, obviously, once you get into the top end, it's only got revs to use, and as you sit in the slipstream, it climbs and it climbs and it climbs. Miles Owens, Jamie Ayres, side by side, of course, a direct fight between the two teams and the two drivers. Outside line goes the way for Ayres into turn number 1. How hard are each driver going to fight for it? Miles Owens, very punchy, very aggressive. Outside line for Jamie Ayres, though he's not quite got the momentum swing. He's going to tuck back underneath, get the late apex, bit of a drift on the way of the MX5, but Miles Owens has enough to stay in front for now. Fast lap goes the way of Martin Sampson, though, a 2:09.48, and he's not even utilised much slipstream, so obviously getting a bit of a push from Pete Van Gaal could be helping him, which is obviously nice to see, which is great teamwork for them, trying to push onto the back of John Sylvester for P3. And even though not necessarily directly linked in terms of a team, they're working together for the greater good, which, bar lap 1, is a much cleaner affair as to what we saw in during the course of race 1 and now into race 2. However, side by side between Littler and Hunt.
Yeah, Littler and Hunt swapping backwards and forwards there as well. Andy Littler really doesn't have to be battling this one. He's got a bit of a gap back to Mick Barry. Not much, by the way. There was a car off there. Oh, Martin Sampson went off track. Sampson went off track. Looked like he went off in the horseshoe. And unfortunately, he's dropped down the order a little bit. He's just in front of Mick Barry at the moment by about 8 tenths. But your leaders are swapping backwards and forwards again. Here they go, one more. And Jamie Ayres is on the left-hand side. Miles Owens on the right in the red, the black and the white MX5. Jamie Ayres in the all red with the black writing there. And it's going to be job done from Ayres. If I was Owens' point of view, I would kind of lift and back out behind him. However, the group behind is not backing out currently at this moment in time, with Daniel Hunt leading the way here as well. Andy Littler goes in very, very slowly. Is that going to put him, almost put him under jeopardy from Elise Main taking a dive up the inside? And that alone could have been quite dangerous for Andy Littler. I know his intention was to almost get out of the way, but it almost caused a pile-up.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, sometimes being predictable and staying on the racing line is better than darting out the way and letting people through, because you know, you've got to do what the other person's going to expect. As outside line obviously goes the way of Elise Main, Tom Griffiths, Daniel Hunt and Samson fighting as well, as Elise Main's got the outside line versus Littler. How hard is he going to fight it after previously wanting to give up the pace for free? Main's got the outside line, and well, that should be a fairly easy affair in all fairness. Side by side as well between Samson, Hunt and Griffiths just in front. Bit of carnage, but it goes the way of Daniel Hunt. Who works about the inside wide for Griffiths, sideways for Samson, and continuing to go side by side. Barry into the side of Samson. That is huge. Cars avoiding it left, right and centre. Still side by side between two championship rivals.
Yeah, in front of that, Hunt and Griffiths there as well. Backwards and forwards, but Samson spun out of turn one. He could almost see it going. And then Barry come round the corner and hey presto, I'm here, you're here. Well, this ain't going to go down well. But for Ayres, currently at the moment, and John Sylvester, they're out in front. Miles Owens got about a 3.8 second gap at the moment over Daniel Hunt, Tom Griffiths with Pete Van Gaal as well. Main's caught up to the back end of them, and this is going to get very, very close. They need to, these four need to group together, because as we see with Steve Hefford, once they group together, Zach, they close the gap down rapidly. You know, you can't afford, and I'm sure Griffiths and Hunt already know this, that why they're going around there fighting is just going to hold them up. They've got to try and close that gap down to PVG. Surely that's on the cards. Well, as I say, that Hunt takes it too wide, so what do I know?
Yeah, well, these guys are racing drivers. They're in direct competition. Those in front, they're not really too fussed about that at the moment. They are focused on themselves. However, I would be. John Sylvester leading the way. They need to close the gap and limit the damage that John Sylvester's going to gain. Because, yeah, as I say, it's a huge point deficit they're going to lose if they squabble amongst themselves. Daniel Hunt has got a bit of a margin, but it's not that big coming into today, about 20-odd points or so, and fighting very, very hard between the pair of them. They could close the gap so easily, but they're not. And I think the issue is, they both want to work together, but they both want to lead the initiative. They both want to be the lead car driving onto the back of PVG, as opposed to just accepting their role and tucking him behind. Side by side, by the way, for John Sylvester and Jamie Ayres. Also with Miles Owens into the mix. Outside line goes the way of Jamie Ayres. He tries to source his way around the outside. Sandwich between two platinum cars, however. Jamie Ayres, he's up there all by himself. And Sylvester and Miles need to completely isolate him. And that's exactly what Owens is going to do. Inside line for the International Horseshoe, sends it on the brakes. Ayres, however, has got an answer for it. Outside line for him, and this is going to be a direct competition between two Titanic teams. Yeah,
well, one man that's not going to be in that competition is Tom Griffiths. It looked like him and Elise Main have had a contact and unfortunately dropped him out. We'll try and take a quick look. Down into turn one, there's Hunt and Griffiths. Main is going to look at surely going up the inside. She does, goes in too hot, doesn't stop the car unfortunately, and hey presto, straight into the side of Griffiths, and that has put an end to Tom Griffiths' run. He's got to try and do it all again through Carl Jacqueline. Has dropped himself all the way down into 10th at the moment. But these three here, there's the Platinum of Sylvester, the Momo of Ayres in the middle, and the Platinum of Owens could make a big difference here to their team scores. They just got to try and keep it away from each other, because the last thing these guys really want to be doing is burying their car, as we saw Hefford do as well. Ooh, Ayres blinking there. That's not going to help either. And it looks like Miles Owens is going to try and run on with Jamie Ayres there. I'm surprised that he didn't. But Ayres has taken the lead once more. Sylvester's dropped back. Now this is where the other pack are coming along here, led by Elise Main with Kyle Jacklett, Tom Griffiths, Darrell Wright here as well. And Griffiths is obviously trying to come back through, Zach, and needs to come back through.
He does. He needs to. Obviously, he's not in a position where he can lose a couple of points like Daniel Hunt or maybe even John Sylvester. He is the back end of that three at the top of the championship. He needs to drive up and really stand up to any opportunity that comes his way, and he needs to obviously get a bit of a move on. But it's so tricky when you've got three drivers in behind you that really eagerly want to take that position from you. As you can see, outside line for Kyle Jacklett, trying to get his way to the outside of Elise Main, trying to use the side draft to full effect and the slingshot to maybe catapult himself alongside with Tom Griffiths as well. You can see just in the background Darrell Wright also making it 3 wide. He's capitalizing even more. The slingshot works for him. Once again, they settle 2 wide, 2 deep. Darrell Wright has got the outside line versus Kyle Jacklett in towards turn number 1. Elise Main the inside of Tom Griffiths, outside for the oh no, drifting all the way through. That is huge. And how they ended up there on the pit lane exit?
And they've sent each other into the entrance. Elise Main again into the side of Kyle Jacklett. Now don't forget, these are on the same team, Optical Red and Optical Blue. No, they're on Optical Red this season, aren't they? And they've both sent, Main has sent her and Jacklett up the pit lane entrance. Unbelievable there. And both people taking out teammates again for the second time. And this is how this one Panda played out here. And you can see from Main's point of view, she just goes up behind Jacklett and both of them up the pit exit.
That is remarkably impressive for the wrong reasons. Yeah. Well, that is what can happen when you have a crash at one of the quickest braking zones on the circuit. Here's John Sylvester side by side with Jamie Ayres as well. This fight continues as Jamie Ayres nearly takes to the apron and trying to obviously not allow the Platinum car an easy run as possible. This is obviously where Ayres was when he crashed into his teammate through lap 1 on race number 1. He tucks back into behind though through the Le Mans chicane. That's more strategic than anything. It gives him the run, the better run through, and gives him, look at the closing speed that he's now going to have to maybe get himself in front. And this is what we saw Griffiths do over the course of race number 1. He's testing, he's seeing how much he can get away with on that final lap. He's also got Owens there as a bit of a control to say how far back does third have to be to get into the mix. And he's thinking, okay, if I'm this far back on the last lap, I'm going to win. So he's using that obviously to the best effect and taking mental notes and things like that. But a three-way fight between these guys, and they're keeping it nice and clean. It's brilliant stuff as, once again, Sylvester tries to launch the counter-attack. It's brilliant.
Yeah, it definitely is here as well. And this is going to be an interesting last lap between Jamie Ayres, John Sylvester and Miles Owens, and then of course Pete Van Gool, Daniel Hunt behind him, and then you got Darrell Wright, Tom Griffiths and Andy Littler. So we're going to have a free pocket of free battles going across the line here, but the main one is going to be this lead one. And at the moment Miles Owens is kind of sat in prime position at the moment, because we know how strong that third place can be on the draft round from 11 round to the end of the race.
It's huge. It really is absolutely massive. Special mentions coming in, of course, in the YouTube chat, taking a note for Sir Alan Toon, who's P9 overall, which is, first of all, huge. There's also an AM podium just in behind of Darrell Wright and Andy Littler, which is awesome stuff for the man who, you know, is remarkably still racing and, well, taking a big step forward. And this is going to be a lot for him. Tom Griffiths, Darrell Wright contesting over 6th place overall, and Tom Griffiths able to get himself ahead. Focused on the lead fight, however, because time is ticking in terms of this race. Jamie Ayres versus John Sylvester versus Miles Owen, practically pushing each other into Le Mans chicane. I don't think Sylvester wants to lead on that run to the line.
No, definitely not. It's not something that I would be looking at taking either. I've got to be honest, from this run here, I would not be wanting to be in that lead position. And from Jamie Ayres' point of view, is not something ideal, and you can see it here as you there on the outside. Sylvester's going to run for it, but watch Miles Owens. If the pace is going to come, Miles Owens is going to pick it up. He's picking the draft now, just how strong it is. Here we go. We're going to go. He's pushing Sylvester along. They're trying to get Sylvester out into the front currently at the moment. How is this going to work out as these guys are going to be racing down to the lead? Jamie Ayres pulls in. They're coming across the line once more. Is this going to work out? It's going to be Sylvester's going to take it from Ayres. Owens backs out and settled for the third place. But I'm surprised he has done, to be blatantly honest. Darrell Wright once more battling away with Tom Griffiths. They're on the run to the end as well. Is this going to be out of Darrell Wright? Is going to have another victory in the AMS. Is he going to be able to settle for sixth? He is currently at the moment. And everybody else has kind of died out after that. PVG did stay in front of Daniel Hunt there as well. But another epic ending to what could only be as an amazing race. It's been incredible.
It has. Obviously, great teamwork from Miles Owens there. He quite easily, I think, could have taken the high line and maybe stolen the win. But he's down in 8th place in the championship. A good nearly 200 points off, about 180 points off Daniel Hunt going into today. John Sylvester, 11 points off Daniel Hunt going into today. That win meant a lot more to Sylvester for the overall accomplishment for the team. First and third for Platinum, it's still a great result. But the win going the way of Sylvester tips the scale more in his favour in his fight versus Hunt. So, yeah, we're seeing some great teamwork at play, obviously, between the pair of them. Overall, it was a brilliant race, much better than what we saw in race number 1, and hopefully they can keep that that pace up for race 3 and 4.
Yeah, definitely as well. At least Main coming into chat. Sorry, Cole. It was you know, what happened to Alan. He's up 5 places, so I don't think a lot happened to Alan Toon, as we're just waiting for Ralph Cullinan to come through. I went off track, did Mr. Toon. Here we go. Unfortunately, he went off there, and that's what happens.
Hold it. Ooh,
No.
No, rounds. Yeah. It was so good until it wasn't.
So good until it wasn't.
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
It was close. That's a shame.
Fair one. Here are your results from race 2. John Sylvester in first, Jamie Ayres second, Miles Owens third, Pete Van Gaal fourth, Daniel Hunt fifth, Darrell Wright sixth, Tom Griffiths seventh, Andy Littler eighth, Ewan Bramer ninth, Jason Haddington 10th, Sir Alan Toon 11th, Steve Hansford 12th, Ralph Cullinan 13th, Steve Hefford 14th, Carl Jacklett 15th, Elise Main 16th, Mick Barry 17th, and Martin Sampson down in 18th place there. Right, guys, we have got to go and do a quick session swap, as we normally have here this evening after race 2. So from myself and Zach Sweeney, we'll see you after this break. Okay, guys, we are back here for race 3 and race 4 with myself, James Parfitt, and Zach Sweeney still up here in the booth. And what an epic 2 races we have seen so far. And at the moment, Darrell Wright is having a flyer, taking 2 victories in the AMs with Andy Littler, who has been on the podium for the last 2 races as well. And a big shout out to Jason Haddington. Let's not forget, Jason Haddington did not complete race 1, and he went and took a podium in race 2. So believe it or not, it's the AMs who are the only ones that have had successive podiums, because we've had Griffiths, Hunt and Hefford in race 1, and then Sylvester, Ayres and Owens in race 2. So rock on the AMs tonight, young Zach.
Yeah, and they've been quite high up in the overall standings as well. Darrell Wright, I think, has taken 2 6th places. Mick Barry was up in 5th in race 1 as well. You know, they're doing pretty well. Oh, was it? No, it was Darrell Wright in 5th and Mick Barry in 6th, because Darrell's taken both wins. Other way around. But either way, they've been really high up in the overall standings, which is huge for the AMs. And on a day like today, where the driving standards, let's admit, well, definitely over the course of race 1, were a little bit substandard. Going to race 2, they were a little bit better. It was actually the AMs showing the pros how it's done. So good job on the AMs, giving themselves a bit of a pat on the back or whatever they want to do to congratulate themselves. I don't know. But either way, looking forward for race 3 and 4, because it's always, this is where the evening sort of shifts up a gear, if you'd like. You know, you've got the carnage of race 1 and 2, and then you go into race 3 and 4, and they've done a Fast and Furious. They've somehow found yet another gear to put the car into, and that's exactly what race 3 and 4 is. The second half of the evening is where it's at. Big gainers in terms of the championship points, big gainers in terms of meaningful results, and obviously Darrell Wright, you know, with his fight with Arnold Chagnon, he has delivered today. So yeah, race 3 and 4, looking forward to it.
Definitely is currently. So it is 7:30 in the evening currently on May 15th, 2023. So we have gone into the future with a 24-degree track temperature. So this is going to be an interesting one here. Start dropping down a little bit into the night here as we come into hopefully it should be the end of practice as well. Does say 10 minutes, but they were talking about forward in the session, so hopefully we'll be able to go forward with the session and get underway with race 3. We've got a top 19 reverse for race 4. So that's going to be an interesting one, and a complete random grid for race 3. So stay tuned on this one, because it has been known to bump Alan Toon up into first place. So let's see how this one works out for the grid in race 3, and we'll see what happens. But as you say, Zach, it's going to be interesting, if nothing else.
At the very least. You know, either way, if it's amazing, it'll be interesting, because we'll be able to watch it. If it's, you know, horrific, it'll also be interesting, because it'll be a bit of an anomaly. So either way, win-win, I suppose, in that regard, in terms of an interesting display for the second half of this evening. But yeah, I think what we've had already has been nothing short of either brilliant or bombastic. I don't know which way you can really put it. Race 1 was obviously carnage. Race 2 was carnage plus a little bit of fantastic racing. So, you know, either way, it's been awesome. And then obviously, as I say, it's only going to ramp up more going into race 3 and 4. A random reverse grid, and looking into could be even more carnage, chaos, calamity. Who knows? But I hope everyone at home is obviously enjoying what they're watching, because we certainly have had a very enjoyable time in the commentary. It's definitely not been boring, James, let's put it that way.
No, definitely it's been very far from boring, especially the runs down to the line, don't forget as well. You know, 9 thousandths of a second in race 1, which was just incredible, and I think it was like 600ths in race 2, so it's been very, very small here this evening as well, and one for definitely getting, I think, a nice old clip out of this one tomorrow for the old YouTube Shorts channel. Don't forget, guys, if you are here for the first time as well, you can subscribe to the channel, give the video a big old thumbs up, and turn on the bells as well. We are 55 subscribers away from the magical 1K here this evening, so it'll be great if you can, if you haven't already, get yourself on the subscribe list, because that would be absolutely amazing. But here is the grid for race 3, and at least Mayne is on pole with Steve Hansford in second. Miles Owens third, Jason Anderson fourth, Alan Toon fifth, Van Gaal sixth, Littler seventh, Ayres eighth, Barry ninth, Griffiths 10th, Jacklett 11th, and Ralph Cullinan in 12th. Wright, Hunt, Bramer, Hepford, Sampson, and Sylvester rounds out the grid here as well. And the reason I read that so quickly is they're underway already, and lights are going on, and they're just about to go off. And once more, we're going to be green, green, green. Alan Toon has gone literally nowhere. He did not go anywhere apart from getting a big old bunch of wheel spin, and is now dropping down faster than a rock in the ocean. Currently is Alan Toon. Steve Hansford battling side by side. Jason Haddington in the mix as well. There, Andy Littler, Mick Barry, and Tom Griffiths all fighting away here. And let's not forget the hands of Steve Hansford, Andy Littler, and Jason Haddington are currently ahead of some very rapid pros at the moment. So it's going to be interesting to see, especially what Jason Haddington does in the Air Smart Racing team there as well. Griffiths is trying to slice his way through like a hot knife through butter at the moment, and he's getting 3 places before we've even got anywhere. But Zach, apart from Alan Toon completely going nowhere, everybody else has got away cleanly.
Yeah, great stuff. It's just been onwards and upwards since the start of race number 1. You can see to the outside Miles Owens versus Elise Mayne trying to get the up and under, potentially not quite able to through the Western Horseshoe. He's got PVG just in behind, obviously direct rivals in the team's championship. Platinum in the form of Miles Owens and Momo in the form of PVG. So Miles Owens is going to try to get through on Elise Mayne as quickly as possible, but Elise Mayne, she's been very, very quick through the duration of this evening, and that is not going to change, specifically now that she's in a race leading position and she can just defend her heart out and give it, you know, top class driving. It's exactly what she's going to do. However, Miles Owens has been, you know, he was the team player in race 2 in giving the win to his teammate, and now his opportunity, he's not going to throw away his shot. PVG also is going to push him through on the outside on that run towards the Le Mans chicane. Forced to tuck back into situ is Elise Mayne. Jamie Ayres in the background as well. Let's not forget, it always gets a little bit hairy into the Le Mans chicane for the first time, but fortunately, I think everyone's through nicely.
Yeah, everybody is through cleanly as well there. So, thank our lucky stars on that one. Mick Barry and Ewan Bramer back up front, of course. Miles Owens with PVG tucked up right behind him, and Elise Mayne as well. And Jamie Ayres there is a big old points haul for Momo at the moment. They need, Miles Owens needs Ewan Bramer to try and help him out. John Sylvester, they're a long way back, mind you. You can see the gap from 1st to 18th is only 6.9 seconds. Mayne is pushing Miles Owens here as well. PVG is going to try and take this 3 wide down into turn 1. Mayne could go 4 if she drops down onto below the yellow. She's not going to do it. Keep it clever and hopefully try and follow Miles Owens through here. PVG is managing to hold on there as well. Does only lose 1 position, Elise Mayne, and drops down currently into 4th. But Jamie Ayres is trying to make that move on the outside. Mayne blocks him off before they go running into the horseshoe here as well. Ayres is, I thought he was going to try and send it out there as well. Jason Haddington trying to go around the outside. Ralph Cullinan has gone for a spin there, and he's just about holding it for Ralph Cullinan. But boy, oh boy, that could have been complete chaos going into that horseshoe there, with Jamie Ayres trying to run up the inside of Elise Mayne.
It always is sketchy when people try to send it from a different postcode back, but these guys have kept it nice and clean, and we've got 5 cars in contention for the race lead in the opening moment, spanning all the way from Miles Owens to the back end of Tom Griffiths. You've also then got obviously Hansford and Hefford in the background, you know, jostling for positions. If they maybe work together, they could potentially drive onto the back. Who's that round? Potentially Jamie Ayres tumbling down the order into traffic contact even more. Carl Jacklett tumbling down the order also with him. That is huge, and that's race over for both of them.
Yeah, Ayres and Jacklett there as well. Don't forget, we have seen a few times these cars have managed to survive with no bumper on it. It looks like Jamie Ayres might have just survived that. I'm not going to ask how he survived, but judging by the fact that no, he hasn't survived. I don't think that steering's not looking too clever there as well. But let's see what happens with PVG, Miles Owens, Tom Griffiths, Elise Mayne, Ewan Bramer. Bramer's now up 10 places. So is Steve Hefford. So these guys battling out here. Another Platinum and Momo battle. What's just happened to Ayres is quite fortuitous, to be fair, to the Platinum Racing boys here. But they've got to be able to do their thing over Pete Van Gaal, who's in first, and Steve Hefford, who's just about to try and go past Ewan Bramer.
Absolutely, side by side between the pair of them. It's brilliant race, and once again, direct fight between the team's championship Platinum versus Momo. And Steve Efford works his way up into 5th place, cuts nearly the front nose off of Ewan Bramer, but is able to stay ahead quite cleanly. Tom Griffiths versus PVG in the fight for 2nd as well. The counter attack though comes back. This just carnage up and down the field. Miles Owens hangs on to the race lead. Tom Griffiths, PVG back up the inside, going through turn number 1. Tom Griffiths the long way round, no way through on that particular occasion, no way to hold this ground. Elise Main in the background, Steve Hefford, Ewan Bramer closing in. This is now a 6-car fight for the race lead, and now even further back you've got Martin Sampson, Mick Barry, John Sylvester all fighting over places. Darrell Wright inside line for John Sylvester, up now into 8th place. Some of the big championship protagonists, the likes of Daniel Hunt down in 16th, John Sylvester here in P8. These are, a long way back on, arguably where they should be. And but Tom Griffiths has been able to capitalise most on that. He's up in 3rd place. I'm going to be very intrigued as to how that Pro Championship is looking after tonight.
Yeah, I think this is just going to throw a big old spanner in the works here. Daniel Hunt is into the pits as well. He jumped to the pits, so did Daniel Hunt, so he's not had a good race free. Mick Barry has just lost a place to John Sylvester. Barry's on the outside there, really doesn't need to get involved. He's still leading the AMS. The problem is the winner who's taken 2 races in the AMS already, Darrell Wright, is tucked up right behind him. But going back up front, we're just going again. It's like rinse and repeat. Is in section draft, change the lead. In section draft, change the lead. And we're at the same state once more between Owen, Griffiths and Van Gaal. They've just swapped. The problem is Main's come in, Bramer's come in. Bramer's going, I'm not sure where he's going, but he's going somewhere across the grass into that chicane here as well. So they're backing everybody up here, and we could end up with what could conclusively be a 6-car fight going into the last 8.5 minutes.
Absolutely, which is always fantastic. You get these towards the start of NASCAR and oval races. The pit stops and things get in the way of that, but straight fights to the end means that trains like this do not dissipate whatsoever. Outside line for Elise Main up in 2nd place, using the side draft to her advantage. Maybe going for the race lead if she can get a hold of it. PVG trying to make it 3 wide through the middle into turn number 1 off the banking. Elise Main struck on the outside, no way through for her, and forced to tuck back into P3. Goes a little bit wide though. Tom Griffiths might be able to get the run and force his way back up into podium contention, but they do not want to risk letting the 2 leaders get away. Steve Hefford outside line versus Tom Griffiths into the international horseshoe as well for him. Once more, well defended, well hung on to, and the slipstream is keeping everyone in condition. Darrell Wright is so late on the brakes and he spun something round.
Oh, Darrell Wright, that's not the first time you've done that. I know there's a way of claiming positions, but I don't believe that is the correct way. And Darrell Wright has sent Sampson spinning off there, unfortunately, as well. And it's going to be something that I'm sure will be talked about. But Darrell Wright is back in the lead again of the AMS here. 2 wins already. Is he going to make it a 3rd in some acrimonious fashion, should we say? Alan Toon is into the pits as well. Mick Barry's 2nd in the AMS, Hannington behind him. But back up front, we're still going. It's still Owen, still PVG, still Griffiths, still Main, and now Hefford's in the bank. They've dropped Bramer, and from Bramer's point of view, this is one of the worst things that can happen to him, being that they're all in a train drafting each other, and he sat back here all on his Todd with 4.5 seconds behind and 1.8 in front, when these guys are battling away nicely.
Yeah, into the Le Mans chicane once again. This is brilliant stuff. Great respect between all of them, of course. This is probably not something we could have had all the way back in race number 1, and it's great to see that everyone's keeping it nice and clean in race number 2. A brilliant run though off the Le Mans chicane from Miles Owens. Sees him take to the high line. Tom Griffiths follows him. He's using the slipstream from him, and look at the closing speed. He's just closing the gap so quickly. 3 wide between Griffiths, Owens in the middle, PVG on the inside, and they're chasing as Elise Main and Steve Hefford to try and fly in formation, all of them. Tom Griffiths tries to cut back down to the low side to cover off his bases into turn number 1. You can see there Steve Hefford all the way to the outside, 3 wide, continuing as they cross the line once more. Miles Owens swallowed by the pack in behind into turn number 1 once more. Tom Griffiths leads side by side between PVG and Steve Hefford through turn number 1 as well. Miles Owens tries to get the up and under versus Elise Main. It's carnage, it's chaos. Once more goes wide, and Miles Owens with the supreme cutback.
Yeah, he done it. He took 2 places there as well. Griffiths and Hefford went off wide. And Miles Owens come through. The horseshoe they go. Once more, PVG, Miles Owens, Tom Griffiths, Steve Hefford, Elise Main, and Ewan Bramer. Bramer's now onto the back of him, and we now have a very interesting 6-car fight. These guys are separated by literally 1.3 seconds at this moment in time, and you can expect that gap to come down. Hefford's made a dive up the inside of Griffiths. Griffiths has gone all a little bit squirrely. PVG's made the move over Miles Owens as well. It's all going to be getting very, very tight as they go on to the draft again, and Elise Main's tucked in the middle there, down 3 currently at the moment, but hanging on to that 4th place. Not quite sure what's going to happen here with the Lioness, of course, and how she's going to go about and how she's going to deal with the cars in front and around her, but she's got to give it a good old go here, Zach, and it's got to be. She's in this position, but, you know, got to go. She hasn't had good luck in race 1, didn't have good luck in race 2. She sent her teammate Carl Jacklett up the pit exit. Surely she's got to try and get through this cleanly, hasn't she?
Yeah, she's got to pick her way through nice and sensibly. 2 wide, 2 deep into the Monte Carlo. The hand. She's wide into the grass as she hung onto it. She's going to get a hefty slowdown for that, Bo. And that has tarnished her momentum in a train as close, as competitive as that. That is her chances completely done and dusted. The fight continues, though. A fight for 3 in the background between 3 cars. The fight for first between 2, Owens and Van Gool, side by side once more to round off yet another lap here at the Daytona International Raceway. The road course, of course, we take 2 side by side in the background as well. The 5-car fight for the lead continues on. Unfortunately, it doesn't include Elise Main, which is a shame, but forcing the hand through the Le Mans chicane like that is always going to be sketchy, and continuing to go side by side. PVG hangs on to the race lead.
Oh, Steve Hefford, is he going to make it through? He's wiggled his way through here. Is he going to survive this one? He's alongside Miles Owens. Owens got the inside from Bramer's point of view, tuck in behind Owens. That's what I would do. Force Hefford on the outside line, going down into 7, and keep Miles Owens in front of me as best you possibly can here. I would not want to be any of these guys now, but I would literally be making sure I've got that inside line. He didn't keep enough speed, has he? Oh no, Miles Owens didn't this time around. But then again, here we go once more. They've got the long straightaway coming up, and we've got this 5-car fight here as well. 2 Platinums, 2 Momos. Elise Main's got John Sylvester for company. Mick Barry still leading the AMs with Jason Haddington. Darrell Wright's dropped down the order as well. Not entirely sure what's happened to Darrell Wright after the Martin Sampson incident. I'm wondering if he let Martin back through there as well to say sorry. But these 5 cars with 2.5 minutes on the clock are going once more. So we're only going to have this one and one more before we start the final lap.
Absolutely brilliant stuff. And it's going to be a shame to see it end. Fortunately, we have got race 4 coming up just after this, and hopefully the action continues. Side by side, Steve Hefford versus Miles Owens into the Le Mans chicane. Inside line goes the way of the Momo car. Now makes it a Momo 1-2. The 2 Platinums of Owens and Bramer, 3 and 4 with the lone privateer of Tom Griffiths just towards the back end of it as well. Brilliant stuff between all of them. Now, how is the team dynamic going to sort of affect these things? How are the Momo boys going to defend? How are the Platinum boys going to work together to attack? I don't think they can really afford to, because Tom Griffiths is knocking on their door as well. Side by side for the lead. Hefford around the outside of PVG makes it his lead of the race now. And, well, there we go. Miles Owens forcing the initiative as well. Pushes Hefford through, and now might be able to retake the lead for Platinum. Outside line going into turn number 1. Who's going to come out on top of this one? It's going to be a test of who's going to be bravest on the brakes, who's got the better measure. PVG nearly making it 3 wide to the inside. Side by side, they work their way through, and after all of that, it's still as they were.
Apart from the fact that Ewan Bramer is almost alongside Miles Owens, and it looks like he's got a head currently at the moment. He has, and it's now about who could stay closest to who for this run. for the final lap, isn't it? They've got to tuck right in. It's all about a game of chess now. Who's going to take the place? Who wants to take the place? Who needs to take the place? That's going to be the question. How are they going to position the car? Are they going to make sure they've got the line through, because they don't want to be trying to give it up if they can help it? Who's going to get the run? Who's going to push who? And at the moment, we could be in for two banks of two here between Platinum Racing and Momo going down to this last corner of this circuit before we get onto that tri-oval and go across the line, because that is somehow how it's looking here, Zach, and I wouldn't be surprised if we crossed it like Manoa's are 2 by 2.
100%. It's going to be an interesting run to the line. Maybe PVG is trying to hold up the offensive so Steve Hefford can have an easy run through side by side once more into the Le Mans chicane. PVG losing a lot of time. He doesn't want to be too far back. Yes, you want to be behind, but you still want to be in a range where you can benefit off the toe and benefit off the slipstream. Hefford defensive into the Le Mans chicane. This is do or die. This is where the last 15 minutes really come together. How quickly you can get your foot to the floor off the exit of the Le Mans chicane. Ewan Bramer takes the lead, and now Steve Hefford, is he close enough? Is he too close? The run to the line, the run to the checker flag to decide race 3.
Yeah, here we go now. He's got to wait for Steve Hefford to make his move. And here we go. 2 banks to 2. As we said, Momo on the left. It's Platinum on the right. Who's going to get this run down to the line now? Here we go once more. They're going to be going 3 wide. It's still being pushed. It's still Bramer. Owens is still pushing Bramer through. They're going to come down to the line. Is there going to be contact? Is there going to be Bramer? Griffiths is trying to make it 4 wide as well. Oh, Miles Owens. Oh no, and even Bramer took it there. Owens got second, Hefford third, Van Gaal fourth, and Griffiths got fifth, or 1/10 behind them guys in that top 5. Incredible ending. Again, just unbelievable.
Spectacular. It was nothing short of remarkable there. Sir Alan Toon just rounding off his lap in a very lonely P15, unfortunately the last of the finishers after not moving off the start line. But the top 4 separated by less than a tenth, the top 5 less than 2. Beautiful stuff. Great respect between obviously 2 teams in direct competition, some drivers in direct competition as well. They gave it their all, but nothing more, and that was brilliant. And that is exactly the standards that we love to see. That's the exact racing that we like to see. And fair play to Platinum. They played it well. They had the inside line through the NASCAR Turn 4 into the tri-oval, and in actual fact, it helped them to take a 1-2 here today. It's a shame for Momo because they did look quite good, but in reality, that could have gone any way possible in any combination. The top 5, Griffiths could have won, Van Gaal 3rd, Hefford 5th, Owens 4th. Who knows? That could have gone any way, and well, that's how it ended up. Ewan Bramer takes victory. Miles Owens up in 2nd place with him, and Steve Hefford P3. Fantastic race, and well, there we go. Race 4 is up next.
Yeah, definitely. There we go. We've got top 19 reverse for race 4, and Alan Toon comes across the line there and finishes off his run in 15th. So unfortunately for Alan Toon, has not been such a great evening of racing, but here are the results for race 3, and it's Ewan Bramer, Miles Owens, Steve Hefford, PVG, Tom Griffiths separated by literally 1.5 tenths. John Sylvester in 6th, Elise Main 7th, Mick Barry 8th, Jason Haddington 9th, Ralph Cullinan 10th, Martin Sampson 11th, Darrell Wright down in 12th in the end, Steve Hansen 13th, Andy Littler 14th, Sir Alan Toon 15th, Daniel Hunt down in 16th, did not finish, neither did Jamie Ayres and neither did Carl Jacquelet, after Jamie Ayres and Jacquelet had a coming together, which was basically Ayres spinning out of 7 and Jacquelet going straight into the side of him. So, wow. Okay. We're going into race 4 now, which, as we know from previous history, can be do or die for a lot of these drivers, young Zach. What do you think? If you could put a crystal ball and project what's going to happen, go for it.
I'm just glad I'm not old enough to gamble, to be honest, because I wouldn't put any money on race 4. It is, you could argue anything. I am not psychic. I'm not going to claim to be, but one thing I can assure you is it's expect the unexpected. You know, we could have the driver that started last take the win. We could have the driver that started P1 run away and take the win. There are so many different avenues that this race can go. And that's because the dynamic that this race is, obviously with the slipstream and the draft, it's a very good style of racing, but at the same time, it's a very fragile one in the sense that it can be thrown away at the drop of a pin. In some cases, you know, if you've got 3 cars fighting for the lead per se in a slipstream chain, and 2 of them come together, take each other out, you've then got the lead car to run away with it. That's one way that it can sort of break itself apart. As good as the racing is going to be, it can very easily go completely nuts and go completely haywire, as we saw already in today's racing. And you know, pretty much any time you go to Daytona and do a bit of slipstream racing, you know, whether it's the full oval or just the sort of the road course that we're using today, you know, there are so many different ways this race can go down. It's a short timer, 15 minutes, as we've seen over the course of the last 3 races. People know it's a short and sharp race. You only get about 6-7 laps per race around here. You need to make the most of every single opportunity that you get, which just adds on to the massive, massive pile of reasons to send it. And, I'm sure 100% that we're going to see some good racing. Maybe we could see... I'd like to see Daniel Hunt impress a bit more. He's had a bit of a slow evening tonight, so... I hope Daniel Hunt might be able to get himself back into the limelight.
Yeah, that would be good to see. Obviously, poor old Alan Toon suffered at the beginning of the last race, did not literally go anywhere. I'd like to point out as well, that's Darrell Wright's 3rd podium in a row in the AMS. And if I'm not mistaken, he got 1, 2, 3, 4 last week. He's had 3 this week. So I've got the collectively of 7 in a row for Darrell Wright in podium positions in the last 7 races.
That's all bar this one of race 4.
Yes.
He could easily make it 100% over the course of the last 2 weeks, which, honestly, it's not a million miles away. He could 100% do that, and that is going to mean a heck of a lot going into the final... what would it be? Well, we've just round off, going into week 7. So round 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, final few weeks of this mini season. That could mean a lot for his championship, particularly because Sean Yanye isn't here. So watch out for Darrell Wright.
I'm just having a look back to see where he was. No, he did. So I've got him as 8 in a row currently from the last one at Knock Hill, if I'm not mistaken. I'm just checking my countbacks here. That's race 3. There's race 3. Currently, including last week and the week before at Knock Hill, Darrell Wright is on 7, 8 in a row, if I'm not mistaken, because he got that one there as well. So 4, 5, 7, 8. Did he get it in the 8? 9 in a row for Darrell Wright on the podium.
That's impressive.
Not bad at all.
I think that goes without saying. Yeah, I'll take that. But the thing is obviously with the AMs, they can be very staggered. One of the AMs could win. The other AM could be in 2nd place overall. This is very hypothetical. And then the 3rd place AM could be all the way down in like P14, for example. So take it with a pinch of salt, but Darrell Wright's been very impressive. Yeah,
Carl Jacqueline in 1st, Jamie Ayres 2nd, Daniel Hunt 3rd, Alan Toon 4th, Andy Littler 5th, Steve Hansford 6th, Darrell Wright 7th, Sampson 8th, Rav Cullen 9th, Haddington 10th, Mick Barry 11th, and Elise Main down in 12th place. Sylvester Griffiths, Van Gaal, Hefford, Owens and Bramer are your last ones here. Bramer out at the back end, but it is going to be Carl Jacqueline out in front here for this race. How is this going to work out? Is Alan Toon going to actually get off the line this time? That would be absolutely amazing. We're just waiting for Mick Barry, Dan Hunt and Carl Jacqueline to get on to the grid before we go in to the final race of the evening. And I think, to be fair, if you're not impressed, if you're not excited, if you're not sat back loving this, then you know, I don't know what can get you excited, because this has just been absolutely amazing. The lights are on now. No Jacqueline, no Hunt. 5 lights. And it is Jamie Ayres. Andy Littler gets away there as well. Alan Toon got a big old dose of wheel spin. Darryl Wright's already up 3 into 4th. Of course, we had 2 that didn't take the start. But once more, we go again into the breach, my dear, into turn 1. And currently it's Jamie Ayres, Andy Littler, Martin Sampson, Darryl Wright, Ralph Cullinan there as well in the battle. Then we've got Mick Barry in there, at least Main, Steve Hefford, PVG. All trying to thread an eye on the needle here. There's one of the Platinum boys. There's 2 off on the grass currently at the moment. Where are they going? Only they will know, but wherever it was, they're not going to be there very quickly because they have whizzed off the side of the circuit, and that was Sir Alan Toon and Steve Hansford coming together there, and unfortunately for both of them, they have both run off track. Alan Toon at one point was in the lead, he went that far along the track, and there he is sat in the grass trying to go back on the track the right way, which is that way, and unfortunately he needed to go off the other way, but him and Steve Hansford locked horns and unfortunately pulled each other off there, Zach.
Yeah, that is obviously not great for Alan Toon. Is that Daniel Hunt and Carl Jacket already at this race as well? That is.
Yeah, they didn't take the start.
I was hoping that Daniel Hunt would do well again. But unfortunately that's not been the case. He's already had 4 DNFs at Brands Hatch Indy a few weeks ago. That was his first job week. Today is probably going to be his second. That means no mistakes, nothing for the rest of the season. He needs to be perfect and right off today, come back next week, a new man. But not being the best day for Daniel Hunt, our championship leader, of course, but yeah, nonetheless, it's been a fantastic evening of racing. Martin Sampson on the back of Andy Littler, looking to the right-hand side of the circuit. That'll give him the outside going into the Le Mans chicane. Also looking quite feisty is Darryl Wright, and Ralph Cullinan in the background. Outside line for the optical red car, saws his way through. Darryl Wright also looking quite peckish and trying to work his way past Andy Littler as well. Ralph Cullinan also in the fight. Brilliant stuff between all of them. But Jamie Ayres, he's made the most of this opening lap. He's 1.8 seconds clear.
Yeah, absolutely there. Ralph Cullinan making his way up 4 places into 5th. Jason Huntington in 6th. He's got John Sylvester for company. Miles Owens and Ewan Bramer are swapping backwards and forwards. They're trying to get hold of Steve Hefford and Pete Van Gool, who they beat in race 3, of course, by some excellent teamwork there. Miles Owens playing the team game once more. That could only be perceived as, and pushing Ewan Bramer for the win. So he's done an absolutely stellar job as Miles Owen. Did the same with John Sylvester as well. Ralph Cullinan's just gone past Andy Littler. Littler is currently sitting 2nd in the AMS. Darryl Wright is in 3rd place and sitting 1st in the AMS. And then we've got this battle all the way down to Elise Main. And there is barely anything to choose between these cars whatsoever. And something that's going to be even more difficult control is how they're all going to go about this here, Zach. Because when you're this close, anything can happen.
Absolutely, it's a very short fuse, and as we've seen already, the smallest of sparks, and it is going to be a catastrophic explosion. Side by side, Andy Littler, Steve Hefford, as they work their way through the left-hand kink and towards the western horseshoe, the inside line, and the advantage therefore goes the way of Steve Hefford, who's very late on the brakes and well commits very deep. There's also Tom Griffiths and Owens and Bramer all trying to send the move, and I think it was Mick Barry that was the catalyst of that very interesting skirmish. He just sent the move from miles back, as he's like to do for the majority of this evening. That's really sparked a bit of tension here as Littler tries to hang on to Griffiths and Bramer and Owens and Main, as everyone is really bunched up now, and it's been very, very peculiar. But Mick Barry, he took no prisoners. He just sent the move, and well, he's now laughing up in 9th place.
Yeah, he got the job done there as well. Jason Hamilton with PVG tucked up right beside him as well. Ralph Cullinan has now got John Sylvester, while the Platinum boys for company here, and he's not going to be able to really do much about it if he can help it. I would personally let Sylvester go, I'm not going to lie, and maybe sit behind him because he is obviously quicker, and Cullinan does do that with John Sylvester and PVG behind him, with right in front of him at the moment as well. You can see the gap on the left hand side. It's 6.4 seconds going round from 1st to the top 14. So not a lot in conjunction of what we normally talk about, but at least Main here threading through the outside. It's got Ewan Bramer on the inside and Andy Littler trying to take it 3 wide, going on that run down to the start finish straight now. How is this going to work out here? Can Main manage to hold on? That's going to be the question. Almost a little bit of a wiggle from Bramer there as well. Main now tucks in behind that Littler as they go past the Geico Risto start, which means the line's going to be coming up very shortly. There it is. And at the moment, it's still Littler ahead of Bramer, and Bramer's now just rocketed past Littler, got the car stopped, and away he went. But up front again, Jamie Ayres, Martin Sampson and John Sylvester here, Zach, and as per normal, it's just going off all the way through the field.
Firing on all cylinders, these guys, and God knows cylinders going around today because everyone's doing it, and it's been awesome stuff. The fight continues in the background, but right here, Jamie Ayres, Martin Sampson, John Sylvester. Jamie Ayres and Sylvester obviously in that direct fight with Hunt in the championship, looking to score some points back as well, let's not forget. So maybe we could see them have a bit of a tussle in the coming moments. Martin Sampson up there as well. He's done a good job up 6 places and looking to improve on his record. Also, he's, well, just been absolutely remarkable. Has helped the majority of the field today, and all of them have had their own woes and problems and issues and things like that, but it all comes down to this right now: how much people are going to fight. Martin Sampson, of course, only 1 podium so far this season, not taking a victory, and this is his golden opportunity to do so.
Yeah, he is currently, as you can see there, Sampson up 6, Sylvester up 10, Van Gool 9, and then down there Toon, Hansford and Littler. Littler has just had an incident and he's had another one as well. So poor old Andy Littler is not loving this at the moment. He's dropped all the way down the field into 14th. So he's going to struggle here to try and get back onto the back end of this pack, which is Jason Hannington. They've got about a 2-second gap to PVG up in front at the moment. They've got to try and work together to try and push this car along if they can. Ewan Bramer is another one who's trying to make a move around the outside of Mick Barry. Of course, Barry not taking any prisoners this evening. Sampson's now just taken the lead over Jamie Ayres, and Sylvester's pushing Ayres along once more on that try over on the inside line there. You can see them, they're literally attached by practically nothing, and you can't even see back from Jamie Ayres' car. That's what the camera was looking at. And there is Sylvester there with Sampson losing 2 places, and Sylvester has gone through. Darrell Wright's gone round. We're on board with Darrell Wright. He's unfortunately taking a spin. He's going to drop down. He needs to get on his bike to stay in remote little bit of contact. And as we were talking about podiums in a row, is he under threat of losing one? Well, the answer could be no, because Littler is right the way back down in 14th currently at the moment. But it's still Ayres, Sylvester, Sampson, PVG 2 seconds, and Cullenham tucked up right behind him as well. 7.5 minutes here, guys. Let's see how this one pans out. It's going to be an exciting one here. Another exciting ending, I feel, coming along nicely as we go into the final race of the evening.
It's been brilliant stuff. Shame for Darrell Wright, of course, but he did the exact right thing, which was just sit there, wait for a gap, and pull in comfortably. There's no point risking further contact and ruining not only your race further, but also someone else's, taking them with you. Bit of sideways moment for Jamie Ayres from the lead of the race. Could potentially bring John Sylvester back into the fight on that run through NASCAR 1 and 2 into the Le Mans chicane. We can see the Platinum Racing Team car closing and closing bit by bit by bit, closing in on the Welshman, of course, who might be forced to go defensive into the chicane. Indeed does so. John Sylvester pulls out to the left-hand side of your shot. The right-hand side of the circuit gives him the outside run going into Le Mans chicane. How hard is Ayres going to fight this one? He's been no stranger to defending quite hard in this particular sequence, but no way through on that turnout between the pair of them. One tucks in behind the other, and now the counter-attack goes the way of Jamie Ayres, because that's how it swings in roundabouts. One leads into the Le Mans chicane, the other then probably leads into turn number 1. Side by side is Ewan Bramer, Andy Littler, and Darrell Wright. Josh left side, actually some at least made Darrell Wright and Ewan Bramer as well. This is how it all started, and well, again, it's just been action up and down.
Yeah, Bramer and Barry come very close there. Very, very close, and that's how Bramer ended up involved in the Elise Main Darrell Wright situation. So unfortunately for him, he's got to try and battle his way back through and go once more. But look at this up front. It is nose to tail with Sylvester and Ayres. Sampson has dropped like a rock. He's 2.5 seconds back now and is in the battle with Hefford. How did that all come about? I can't see him making any mistakes anywhere, but never say never, I guess, Zach, and he's now got a 2-second gap currently.
Yeah, well, that is baffling. Again, entirely sure, same as you, we're sort of suspended in anticipation as to trying to find out what happened. Obviously, if Ayres and Sylvester jostle, there's no reason as to why Sampson can't then reclose. The gap is side by side between Cullen and Van Gool, as Van Gool tries to look to the outside of the kink, brings him the inside going into the Western Horseshoe. He's got to be brave on the brakes. He is very brave. Tom Griffiths tries to use him as a pry bar to open the gap up versus the Irishman, but no way through from the blue and yellow livery MX5. And Pete Van Gool up now to 5th place and well in contention for what could potentially be a podium, which is, well, I guess a nice way to round off the evening, because similar to a lot of people, PVG's night has been a roller coaster. It's been really good, really bad, really good, really bad. He doesn't really know what he wants. It's been a night of two extremes for a lot of people.
Yeah, definitely here as well. Back up front, still running side by side, going into the chicane. We've only got about 2 laps remaining now. How is this one going to work out for these guys? We're on lap 5. It's got to be start playing chess. Surely they've got to start playing chess now. Who's going to position the car where? The gap behind has been taken up on the mantle by Steve Hefford, and he's now got it down to 1.7. Unfortunately, he's still going on to 1.8. He needs everybody in a line to bump him along here like they do in the NASCAR. Who's at the top? That's one of the optical boys there. I think it might be Steve Hansford running around that outside line. But now he's got to try and get everybody in a line to try and push him along. That's what he needs at the moment. He doesn't need the hustle and bustle from fighting. Jamie Ayres and John Sylvester are still scrapping, and we've only got 2 laps to go.
Yeah, so side by side once more between the two Momo boys. It's PVG on the outside, Hefford on the inside. They continue to go too wide, as so too does Cullinan and Griffiths just in the background behind that. Side by side as well, potentially also very off the circuit. Who's that in the background? Not entirely sure. PVG hanging on in the background though. It's Owens, Cullinan, etc., as they all jostle their way through. Elise Main versus Ewan Bramer as well. And just look at this, and no clue. Just seems, was it Martin Sampson maybe? He's now out of the race. Yeah.
Sampson there just went off track, unfortunately, into turn 1. Cullinan now on board we go. That's Miles Owens in front of us. The gap up front is 2 seconds. You see the leaders to the right hand of your screen there, just about now. And then they're going through turn 7. So it's all about, really, Miles Owens trying to stay with PVG and Steve Hefford. They've got one more lap. That's it to go for the final race of the evening. It's going to be even tough for these guys to try and get up front. But then again, the guys up front are still fighting away, and once more they're still side by side going round turn 8 and into the bus stop for 9 and 10 before they go running off round 11 and 12 here. Had enough of this car, says Martin Sampson in YouTube chat. So unfortunately for him, not going well, not loving the MX5 this evening, but it's going to be an interesting one. 1.6 on the clock. They're only going to be one lap left here. This could end up coming down to what could potentially be a 5-car fight, depending on how quick the guys can move up to the guys in front of them.
They've not got a lot of time though, that's the thing. Hefford, Vangal, Owens, Griffiths, Cullinan, they all need to drive their way back into the fight, and 1.4 seconds, it's going to be tough, but things like this could definitely shift the balances. Jamie Ayres and John Sylvester once more go side by side. It's not for very long, as Sylvester's happy just to tuck back in behind. There you can see Hefford, Owens, Vangal side by side, Griffiths making up the rear end of the formation. And now, which way is Sylvester going to go? Is he interested in sparking a fight into turn number 1? Maybe so. Outside line as Jamie Ayres takes the inside line, tightest way possible through turn number 1. Final lap of the final race of the evening, and it's been a brilliant display so far. Jamie Ayres, though, he's off, and Sylvester's going to re-inherit the race lead. Oh my goodness me, now he's down into second and maybe under pressure from Hefford. Has he still got the slipstream? I don't think so. Ayres now to 3rd place potentially, indeed so. This is Sylvester's race to lose. What a turnout on the start of the last lap.
Yeah, Jamie Ayres went in deep into turn 1, and unfortunately has put himself on the grass, and as we know, it's not grass, it's no grip on there. You might as well be on ice here, and unfortunately for him, he has dropped down to 3rd now. They're going to try and catch Miles Owens, but I don't think these 3 Momos are going to be able to. However, I do see Tom Griffiths somehow getting himself involved in this, as Miles Owens, so they've got to try and close the gap, the 5 of them here, but I think it is Sylvester's to lose. I think well, I want to say he won't lose it, but that gap's coming down quite quick at the moment. It's now down to nearly a second.
It's touch and go. It depends if Sylvester makes the mistake well enough, and you can see Hefford and PVG giving their teammates a good little bump, because all 3 of them want to reap the rewards. The gap is now 3/4 of a second into the final chicane for the final time. It could well still happen inside the Le Mans chicane once more. It's all about, can Ayres get the drive off? He's soaring away at the steering wheel, trying his best. Now 6/10. Is the slipstream strong enough? Is the bump drive strong enough? Who knows? We'll find out in about 300 meters time.
Yeah, they needed PVG to stay in that line to even have a remote opportunity, but they're going to be coming down once more here. Here we go on this run now. It's Sylvester hanging out in front with Steve Hepford, with Jamie Ayres, with is that Miles Owens as well. Owens is going to try and send it 4 wide. Here we go. They go through. Who's going to be coming through? Oh, it's going to be Hepford, I think. Hepford gets it over Ayres, over Owens, and Sylvester from leading went down into 6th place.
That is bizarre and not what Sylvester would have wanted at all. Look at the gaps between each individual car. 35,000, 33,000, 30,000, 27, 58. Minuscule gaps, literally invisible to the human eye between each and every one of them. It was a 6-car coagulation on the run to the checker flag. John Sylvester is going to be utterly disappointed with that. What seemed to be a surefire victory going into the last lap with a 1.3-ish second back to second place. The teamwork we saw from Momo really put them back into contention. Obviously, well done to Miles Owens to sort of split them up a little bit, but Hefford, Ayres and Owens the podium, you wouldn't have guessed that going into the final lap.
No, this is where it all kind of starts from. And then you just see them come and close him down. He's just got absolutely eaten. There, he's in the middle, car number 64. Hefford takes the inside. Griffiths tries to come as well. And literally, they're all coming across the line. Van Gaal's got nowhere to go. And look, that is practically how they finished across that line with Hefford, Ayres, Griffiths, Owens, Van Gaal. It was just unbelievably close there on the final rundown, and wow, absolutely epic ending of racing there for race 4. But it is Steve Hefford out in front with Jamie Ayres, Tom Griffiths, Miles Owens and Pete Van Gaal, and John Sylvester, literally barely a 10th between the top 6 there. Ralph Cullen and Jason Haddington. Darrell Wright continues his podium streak in 2nd overall in the AMS. Mick Barry 10th, Ewan Bramer 11th, and Main down in 12th, Littler 13th, Hansford 14th, Alan Toome 15th, Martin Sampson 16th, Carl Jacklett 17th, and Daniel Hunt down in 18th place. And that was just an absolute epic ending to a race there, and one man that could tell us all about it will be Mr. Steve Hefford there as well. Steve, welcome in. How are you, sir? That was just an incredible end to a race, wasn't it?
To be fair, every race that I finished was just epic. The guys are just, yeah, I mean, it's just amazing to be able to trust people at, you know, at that speed and those distances, and everyone to keep it fair, and yeah, amazing driving.
Did you think you were going to get Sylvester?
No, I wouldn't have stood a chance. I had a little bit of side draft, but then Tom came up and said, "You want to push Steve?" I was like, "Go on then." And it was like a turbo kicking in, so I had to thank him for the win, because I had no chance I'd have got there if it hadn't been for that. Yeah, Jamie got a little bit loose in front of me through the bus stop, just in the wrong place, so it kind of mixed it up a bit. But yeah, it was amazing driving.
Yeah, we are literally just watching the end now. You've just gone past the Geico restart zone there as well. Paul Sylvester ended up down in 6th place there as well.
Did
yeah, gutted.
Oh, what a shame.
Yeah, you guys went through the middle of him and just split him like a jam sandwich, and unfortunately he just went down to 6th there. Owens had a good run though, mind you. Miles Owens got up into 3rd, so on the run on the outside, so he tried.
They did us in race 3 exactly the same, and it was 2-on-2, and they both did us, so I went in and called them some names and came out again. So
well,
we all done one.
You've repaid him the favour in race 4 there, Steve, but that was just an unbelievable epic evening in a race in there, buddy. Onwards and upwards as well, young man. Anyone you want to give a shout out to before we let you go?
Yeah, just to be honest, everyone in the league, the new guys especially, it's always iffy getting new guys in, because they come in with the, you know, they're all like wannabes kind of thing, but these guys are just proper sensible good racers. Tom is real, he races this in real life in the Mark 3s, I think, or the Mark 2s in the UK series, and he's just like, you know, he's straight on it, straight up there. So all the new guys, but everybody really, who makes the league what it is, you guys, and a special shout out to my mate Stevie, who watches this every week, my best mate. So I'll be in a wagon somewhere in the middle of Scotland. So big shout out to Steve.
Nice. Well, to Steve, you take care, bud. Yeah, have a good week, mate, and we'll catch up with you next week.
You too. Cheers, guys.
Take care. Well, I don't really know what to say, Zach. I would say sum it up, but I don't know if you can you?
You asked me. Oh, well, we touched on it in race 1, actually.
Yeah, I just didn't know if you. Is there an improvement in the thought process of what you could say?
Race 1 was World War 3. Race 2 was it was Carnage. Race 3 was Karma, and then race 4 was Perfection.
Okay. You could have had all the C's. Could you have the C?
Well,
what did you have? Race 2 was
we had race 1 was
chaotic.
I said World War 3. We could have chaotic. Race 2 was Calamity. Race 3 was Karma, as in Calmer.
Or you could have had Carnage, and race 4 was Karma.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose I see where you're going with that one.
I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see. But there you go, guys. That rounds out tonight's action here this evening on the JPB YouTube channel with the UK SimRacers. Don't forget, we go off to Le Mans, the historic, next week. That's going to be an epic draft fest as well, so stay tuned for that one. But if you like your NASCARs, guys, we are going into round 15 of the BSC NASCAR playoffs they are at Watkins Glen, so if you want to come along there as well, the broadcast starts at 1:45 in the morning if you are in the UK. If not, well, we'll see you tomorrow, because as per normal, there has been racing all the way through the week here on the JPB YouTube channel, and once again, it is a very, very busy week. So if you are watching it back, don't forget to subscribe, turn on the bells, and give the video a big old thumbs up. And if you're watching it live, do exactly the same. But for myself and Zach Sweeney up here in the booth, guys, as always, take care, have a great week, and you never know, we might see you on the track sometime. Good night.